We're not going to talk about geology today. Nope. We're talking about one of the most brilliant, most audacious business stories you'll ever hear. It's the story of how one company took a pretty common crystal and turned it into a global symbol of love, of power, of forever. This is the story of how De Beers literally invented the modern diamond. And I mean, just listen to this quote from a former top executive at De Beers. He's not even hiding it. He's openly admitting that the value of a diamond has nothing to do with what it can do. It's all about what it makes you feel. Their entire empire was built on that simple, powerful idea. So that's the big question, isn't it? How did this rock, with no real practical purpose, become one of the most sought-after, most expensive things on the planet? Well, the answer isn't buried deep in a mine. It was engineered. It was built. The whole idea of a diamond's value, that's the story of a company that, for the better part of a century, had an iron grip on the entire diamond world, from the dirt it came out of, right into our collective imagination. Okay, so first we have to talk about the problem De Beers was created to solve. And here's the twist. It wasn't a problem of scarcity. It was the exact opposite. It was a problem of abundance. There were just too many diamonds, and that threatens to make them cheap. So here's how it all went down. In 1867, huge diamond deposits are found in South Africa. A diamond rush kicks off. But as the supply just exploded, prices started to tank. That's when a businessman named Cecil Rhodes had this incredible insight. The real power wasn't in digging the stones out of the ground, it was in controlling how many of them ever saw the light of day. And so, in 1888, he formed De Beers to do just that. And what they built was an absolute machine. See, Rhodes didn't just start a company, he basically created a global cartel. It was designed from the ground up to control the world's diamond supply with an iron fist. And get this, in just 2 years, De Beers controlled a mind-boggling 90% of all diamonds produced in the world. They weren't just a market leader. For all intents and purposes, they were the market. After Rhodes, a guy named Ernest Oppenheimer came along and really perfected the whole system. His philosophy was beautifully, brutally simple. If you want diamonds to be valuable, you have to make them seem rare, even and especially when they're not. So how'd they actually pull this off? It was this intricate system. First, they brought all the producers under one roof, basically forcing everyone to sell through them. Second, they created this artificial scarcity with these exclusive sales events, called sites, only 10 times a year. Third, at these events, a handful of chosen buyers, site holders, were given a box of diamonds at a set price. Take it or leave it. If you said no, you might never get invited back. And finally, they were the enforcers. If any producer tried to go rogue and sell on their own, De Beers would just flood the market with similar stones, crash their prices, and bring them crawling back. It was ruthless. But here's where the story goes from a brilliant business strategy to pure genius. Controlling the supply was one thing, but they realized the real prize was controlling demand. They set out to control an idea, an emotion. It all comes down to 1947. A young copywriter named Francis Giretti scribbles down 4 words almost as an afterthought: a diamond is forever. It was perfect. It took the physical property of the stone, its hardness, and tied it directly to the most powerful human emotion: eternal love. It wasn't just an ad slogan, it was the birth of a modern tradition. And boy, did it work. The campaign completely redefined the engagement ring. It became a cultural necessity. They even invented the 1-month salary rule, later bumping it to 2, to tell guys exactly what to spend. And the results? They were insane. Before World War II, only about 10% of engagement rings had diamonds. By the 1990s, that number was 80%. And one of the most crucial parts of the plan was to make sure you never sold your diamond. That stopped a big resale market from ever popping up, which would have shown everyone what they were actually worth. But even though diamonds are forever, monopolies are not. And eventually, the incredible empire that De Beers had built started to show some serious cracks. And just look at this chart. The decline was just staggering. From that peak of 90% control in the 80s, their market share just fell off a cliff as new mines were discovered and producers finally got brave enough to break away from the cartel. The hits just kept on coming. Zaire tried to leave back in '81, and De Beers made an example of them. But then, the big players started to leave. Russia's state-owned diamond company, Australia's enormous Argyle mine, they all broke away. The final blow to the old system really came in 2004, when De Beers had to plead guilty to price-fixing charges right here in the US. And we're not talking about simple business deals here. This was geopolitics. To keep the whole thing from falling apart, you had the chairman of De Beers meeting with world leaders like Vladimir Putin, trying desperately to keep these powerful new state-backed competitors in line. The game had totally changed. Right around the same time, a huge ethical bomb went off. the blood diamond crisis. The revelation that these symbols of love were being used to fund brutal civil wars in Africa, it was devastating. It shattered that perfect romantic image they'd spent billions to create and forced the whole industry to create a certification system to prove their stones were conflict-free. So, that brings us to today. The old monopoly is a memory, but a totally new threat has shown up. And this one is an existential threat. It attacks the very idea of what makes a diamond special. I'm talking about lab-grown diamonds. Here's the thing. They are physically, chemically, visually identical to a mined diamond. The only real difference is where they came from. And the price, which is way, way lower. So De Beers is trying to fight back with a new story. They're saying natural diamonds are for the serious, forever moments, while lab-grown ones, oh, those are just for fun and fashion. But that's a tough story to sell. In fact, after trying to play in the lab-grown space themselves with their own brand, De Beers just recently did a complete 180. They're basically giving up on lab-grown engagement rings to go all in on defending the fortress of natural mined diamonds. It's a retreat to their original story. So it all comes down to this. For 100 years, De Beers got to write the story of the diamond. They told us what it meant, what it was worth. But now, with technology that can create a perfect diamond in a lab and a market that's wide open, that story is up for grabs. So the question is, in a world where perfection can be manufactured, what exactly makes a rock pulled from the ground priceless? Who gets to decide?